I'm so sorry, Mohammed. I swear it's not usually like this, but we don't get to talk about this kind of stuff very often.
I'm good.
And
That's interesting.
This time it's relevant to the show. We got to talk about it. Supernatural is yet another show that talks about 3 mullet bands.
Supernatural is if the Hardy Boys fought demons.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
Supernatural is 2 people who always know what's going on while everyone else is clueless.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Fallingtower's Watch the First podcast in which we watch the first episode of a series so that you don't have to. What do you think about those nifty graphics that just flew by, huh?
Pretty nifty.
Thumbs up.
We're reviewing Supernatural, episode 1 called Pilot. With us, as always,
creative name.
Not only is Michael supernatural, he's a superhero. Oh wait, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg. I already said your name.
Yeah, Michael, the Kenyon of the Kenyon Rosenberg clan.
We are also joined by Dr. Mohamed Noor, who is the Dean of Natural Sciences at Duke University and also a science consultant at a little show franchise called Star Trek.
Woo-hoo. Thanks for having me.
It should be noted, though, he's not like the evil dean, like in those college movies. They're like, oh, the dean.
He's also
at least
not
sometimes I'm not.
He's also not like the dean in this show.
Ah,
that's true.
Good segue.
Good point.
There's a man named Dean in this show.
Yeah, Sam and Dean.
So that's it. Let's get started by saying, if you want us to review one of your... Oh, by the way, my name is Ryan T. Husk. I'm on fire. If you want us to review a show that you love or hate or think is weird, or just to see what our reactions would be to this show, type in WTF and the show below. So you would say like WTF Fraggle Rock, or...
Oh, yes, do that one.
Or WTF Three's Company, or WTF Pretty Little Lies, and that stands for Watch the First. Make sure you do that in the comments below and do us a solid. Tell us where we can find it, where we can stream it. Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon, whatever.
Don't forget to click the thumbs up icon to like this video. That helps us a lot. And then also, if you're not subscribed, what's stopping you from hitting that subscribe button? Why not?
Right? And share this with your friends.
That's what I always say.
All right, let's get into it. Yeah, Mohammed knows. Let's get into it. This is called Supernatural. This show, it's been around for 15 seasons. We watched the first episode.
Wow,
and let's start with our first game. I'm already suspecting what Mike's thinking. This first game is predictions. Everybody at home, make your predictions. Do you think I liked it? Do you think Michael liked it? Do you think Mohammed liked it? Let's find out. Michael, I predict that you were less warm on this show than the flames behind me. I feel like you were just slightly below. No, my instinct is slightly below a 5, like around a 4-ish. But you didn't mention the Hardy Boys, kind of endearingly, seemingly. So I'm going to bump you up to a 5. Like, you're going to be right down the middle. Mohammed, I think you liked it a bit because, mystery, sometimes a simple premise is easier to enjoy because then you don't have to get, behind everything. You can just kind of watch and enjoy, and it's very procedural. I think you seem like a guy who likes procedural shows. So you're slightly above average on it, I think.
Well, now I am the one who gets to make my guesses.
Uh-oh.
And I guess that Ryan did not like this show. I think that he does not like procedurals. And he was like, the whole time he was like, oh boy, another, now what are they getting? Good. But then Mo, I do think that he did like it. He likes things, and he would like this, I'm sure.
Likes things. I love that. So I'm going to predict both of you are in the 5-6 range. That's my guess. I'm not going to actually distinguish. I think both of you are probably in the 5-6. We're like, was okay. It had ups, it has downs. That's what I'm going to guess for both of y'all.
All right, very good. Everybody at home, make sure you are entering your predictions in the live chat or in the comments below, because you're about to find out how we felt about it in just a moment after Michael tells us what the heck this show is even about. Comedically, of course.
Yeah, if I can find my synopsis here. Okay. Two brothers follow their father's footsteps as hunters, fighting evil, supernatural beings of many kinds, including monsters, demons, and gods that roam the earth. In this episode, Sam and Dean Winchester were trained by their father to hunt the creatures of the supernatural. Now, their father has mysteriously disappeared while hunting the demon that killed their mother 22 years ago.
Well said.
Yeah.
Goes well
Solid.
beyond the plot of this episode.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
Had either of you guys seen any of these before? I hadn't watched any of these before. Had either of you guys
Well,
seen any of these before?
Mohammed, that is the perfect segue for our next
Ah.
game. Here we go.
What did you
We
expect?
like to compare and contrast what we expected versus what we got.
Yeah.
This is a game that we both like to call expectations.
Oh, you and Mohammed like to call it that? That's cool. I hate it.
I'll adopt
So,
it.
Ryan and
I'll
Michael
adopt
both
it. He
love
says, all right, I'm outnumbered now.
it.
That was easy. All right. Expect
Like things.
it is, I guess. All right.
Thanks, Dr. Muhammad.
No problem.
Michael, before you watched this show, this first episode, what did you expect?
Well, I had heard of the show before, but I have never seen it. And I really expected nothing because I didn't know anything about it. I expected there would be something supernatural about it because of the title of the show. But that's pretty much all I expected. I went into it mostly blind because I didn't know anything about it. The one thing I will say is while I was looking up the title and the synopsis, I did see that the show went 15 seasons.
I noticed that on Netflix too.
Seasons
Yeah, that's how I
long.
noticed it too.
Wow. And I looked it up on Wikipedia. 327 episodes aired of this of the show. 327. And this is the longest running live action fantasy TV series.
Wow.
Huh.
So that told me, so there's probably people like this show then. Okay.
Mike
So
is
that's what
giving
I
me more
expected.
hints that he didn't like it. But these are just very, very subtle hints. But I could be wrong. Mohammed, before you watched this first episode, what did you expect?
So I'd never really followed it. I was aware it was around. My daughter watched it. I think my wife may have watched some of it too, but I know my daughter watched it. And like when you first reached out to me asking me about watching it, I mentioned it to her, and she's like, "Yeah, the first episode is pretty good. It turns to crap later." So that was my impression from that. But I mean, she said the first episode was going to be pretty good. I thought it was going to be more. I don't know if you guys are familiar with from the CW series. I'm not sure you guys are familiar with John Constantine. I thought it was going to be more like that with these people going in and doing incantations and doing stuff like that. It wasn't, well, yeah, we'll get to what weird, but I thought it was going to be along those lines.
A little
kind of
hint
thing.
there. We got a
Yeah.
little hint. Mohammed's feeling playful today. Okay, so I'll tell you what I expected. Because I actually, a lot of times we go into something blind, as Michael kind of did today, but I definitely did not go in blind. I did notice that there were 15 seasons when I saw it on Netflix, and I checked the runtime because we don't like to watch things where the first episode is like 90 minutes. So
I did that too. I was nervous about that too.
Before we commit to something, in our Google sheet, we actually, in our spreadsheet, we actually have a column that says how long these things are, because we don't want to get trapped into any of these silly hour-and-a-half things. Anyway. So
That's piercing the veil of our
yeah, that doesn't bode well for Battlestar Galactica, huh?
I was just thinking that one exactly. That the whole mini series first. Oh,
yeah,
it's
bummer.
like 3 hours.
Well, sorry, Battlestar. We've already seen you and we love you. So anyway, but I had never watched the show, but I've heard about it because Creation Entertainment, a company that puts on some really good conventions, including Star Trek conventions, every time I've ever visited their site, I've been blown away by the fact that they have seemingly just as many supernatural conventions as they do Star Trek conventions, which leads me to think, what is this show and how is it seemingly in the same stratosphere as far as size of the franchise as Star Trek? So it must be really big and really huge. And I feel like sometime in the last 10 years, a couple of times I've asked people about it, and they say something to the effect of, oh yeah, it's got a really big following. It's got a cult following. And I seem to remember mentioning, people mentioning among women or among teen girls. I feel like that was kind of the impression I had over the years. Beyond that, I feel like I saw a scene of it once, and there was like some weird makeup rat guy that they were wrestling, but I don't even remember if that's what the show was or if that's another show many years ago. So that's the extent of what I expected. It just a show that has a cult following that's, and I feel like at a convention one time in Pasadena, they had somebody from Supernatural up speaking, but I went to watch it because it was the actor that plays Denethor in Lord of the Rings. So I was like, I want to watch him, and that's cool. And he did end up talking about Lord of the Rings a bit and Supernatural as well, if that's what I'm thinking of. But I zoned out for that part. Anyway, that's all I expected. But what did we actually get, Michael?
Can I insert one quick thing before you go to what you got? So interestingly, Creation also does something called Stranger Con on Stranger Things, which I still don't understand how that's possible, because it's not a big cast and there's only like 3 seasons. So not quite sure how that works, but
it's getting pretty big. I feel like they got maybe up to 15 now.
The thing is, people really like things.
It's true. But I mean, comparing that to say Star Trek, where there's like 800 episodes and movies and stuff like that, like or there's 30 episodes maybe of Stranger Things.
Right. Good point. An interesting theory, Michael, that people like things.
People do like things.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing that I liked was this first episode of Supernatural. What I got was a very, very compelling, very thrilling supernatural fantasy procedural.
Yeah.
And I mean, it definitely brought me along. Like there are twists and turns, and I was along for the ride. I felt all sorts of feelings when I was watching it, and
hunger.
No, mostly like surprise, interest, mystery, intrigue. Like I felt all these different things. I was like, man, these guys did a pretty good job with this first episode, at least.
Great.
I mean, we'll see what happens, but
yeah. Well, Mohamed, beat that.
My impressions were very mixed. I mean, I confess I went in kind of with low expectations because I don't like things that tend to fall into that genre overall. But there's some elements I liked a lot. I mean, the things I liked a lot were the backstory associated with what was her name, the woman in white or whatever. I can't remember exactly what they called her. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Welch, I believe.
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, I thought that was really interesting. The dynamics with the brothers were kind of interesting. I didn't like the effects, and it was like, I don't know, they didn't grab me, like the sudden movements and things like that. It was very standard horror movie style. That was not my style. I mean, it was well done for what it was, but I didn't really like that as much. I mean, again, I felt very mixed. There were some aspects I liked a lot, and there's some aspects I didn't really appreciate. Like I would have preferred if they had a lot more time in that town, a lot more on the backstory of the woman in white. Like, what were her motivations? Why was she doing this? A lot more elaboration on that. But I felt like they just, maybe it's because it was a pilot. They were also trying to set things up for these 2 main characters, as well as trying to have this episodic plot. So maybe the second episode would be a lot better in that regard. So.
Right. When you were saying that was the first thing I thought too, was that it's because it was a pilot and they had to also introduce the show on top of introducing the episode. And so I would guess that further episodes have more on, because that's a good point. It'd be great to know more about it, about that lore in that town. I'll tell you what I got. I got kind of a mixed bag, but not that mixed. Like I thought that the opening sequence, whole, thing was very good. I thought it was very good, and I was impressed. And I was like, "Oh, this is better than I expected. Not unbelievable, but good, solid." I was pleased with it, and then it progressively got slightly worse as the show. Like, I started to notice things that I was less impressed by as the show went on, but nothing horrible, and very little that I would even consider solidly bad. So it's pretty good. But Mohamed, you said something that made me curious, which was when you were talking about the mixed bag and the good things and bad things. Could you elaborate more and tell us what some of the good things were and some of the bad things?
I mean, there were some of the specific scenes that I thought were very well done. Like, for example, the initial thing with the woman in white, where she caught that initial person. I thought that sequence I thought was pretty good. I didn't quite understand why he freaked out so much when a bird flew out of the house. He seemed to have this unusual panic. Like, okay, I mean, actually freeze framed it to see, like, it was just a bird, right? Like, yeah, it's just a bird. Okay,
I did the same thing. I rewound it, and I was like, what scared him so much? And I went back. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand, but I thought that whole sequence was very well done. So that was a very positive. Well, you said the positive ones. I like the scene on the bridge where suddenly she'd taken over the car and was going after them. I thought that was well done. And like you said, the introductory sequence was very good too. I wasn't as crazy about the last sequence there with the girlfriend burning. I was like, wait, what? Why did that happen? It seemed kind of arbitrary, but yeah, overall, like I said, mixed bag, but trending positive, where I liked it more than I thought I would like it.
Michael, did you have any positive and negatives?
Lots of positives. So I guess maybe the reason why I liked it so much is I'm a big fan of the supernatural and the occult. Back when I was like in middle school and high school, and maybe even like my first year of college, like I did research papers on supernatural and on the supernatural and the occult. These phenomena that are beyond scientific explanations just always fascinated me, and I've just always been into that stuff. I like it, and I think that they did a real. I feel like, I mean, I haven't done any research on this or anything, but I feel like the writers of the show did their research.
Yeah,
and they nailed some of this stuff, like the whole woman in white folk legend. That they said, oh, it's showed up in Arizona and Hawaii, it showed up in all these different places, and it's the same thing. A woman who was scorned by, or maybe not scorned, a woman that was in a relationship with a cheating partner, unbeknownst to her, like murders her children, and then when she realizes what she does, she murders, she commits suicide.
So this was something that previously existed in lore, Michael, you're saying?
Right. Well, they explain it in the show.
Yeah, but that could have just been made up. I'm saying, like, I mean, do we know if that is?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I didn't do my research, but
okay.
It seems like the kind of thing that would be. I mean, I would imagine that they would have done their research, but I bet the people in the live chat and who are watching can leave us a comment and let us know if they did do their research, if this is a real thing.
It's nice they didn't over-explain stuff like the salt, for example. They didn't. I mean, most people have seen that in some other show. They didn't over-explain that, which was nice. They just moved on from that, which was cool.
Right. So I mean, definitely, I like that kind of thing, and I like that it seems like I said, I didn't do my research, but it seems to me that they did their research, and I'm good. That's good enough for me.
I would guess the opposite, because when I looked up, me, I'm a geography nerd. So the second they mentioned a city, I Googled it, and it doesn't exist. Where they were, I already forgot what it was called, but the place where they went does not exist. What's the place called?
I want to remember it was Lawrence, Kansas in the beginning. That definitely does exist.
Yeah, Jericho, California.
California.
Right. Does not exist. And then I thought, I wonder if it's just going to be all fictional places, because then they have creative license to do whatever they want. And the last place they mentioned, or the only other the next destination they mentioned was Blackwater Ridge, Colorado. So where the dad is supposed to be. So I Googled that, also does not exist. So I'm guessing that they're making stuff up and they just have very creative minds where they're creating a whole world of legend and lore, but maybe, as Michael says, mixed in with some things that we've heard before or sound familiar, or taken similar to, say, like the X-Files. The X-Files would like say the Greys or something, and we know what they're talking about. That is pulled from something that is real and recognizable. So I would guess it's a mixture, but I really don't know.
No, I just found it. I just
all right, let's hear it
right now.
Great.
So a white lady or lady in white is a type of female ghost, typically dressed in a white dress or similar garment, reportedly seen in rural areas and associated with local legends of tragedy. While white lady legends are found in many countries around the world, common to many of these legends is an accidental death, murder, or suicide.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
great.
I mean, that's what I
So
thought. I thought
they
that
grab
would have
some
done
folklore and they derive a
Right.
story.
Elaborated
from
a
it.
little bit. Yeah.
right.
That was nice.
So thank you, whoever put that in the comments. Thank you for looking that
good
up
work.
for us.
It
Thumbs up
reminds
to you.
me of the lady in Ghostbusters where they're like, "Get her!" And she goes, "Blah." That kind of scared me when I was 7 or 8 or whatever.
The place
Anyway.
that jumped out to me was in the beginning when they were in Lawrence, Kansas. I mean, that's partly, I know, because that's where the university is, but also that was where the movie in the 80s, the day after, was set. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It was basically this nuclear war. This was something that, this was a big thing around 1983-ish. There was this nuclear war movie, and you just saw this nuclear holocaust after that. But it was a big deal at the time. Like Ronald Reagan came on the news and talked about it because everybody was freaked out after this movie. It was on TV. It wasn't like in the movie.
The president actually had to address a movie.
Well, I don't think he had to, but there was tons of dialogue about it because this was, at the tail end of the arms race with the Soviet Union and the United States. So seeing that and seeing all these people going through the aftermath of such a war was very moving to the whole country.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of
which, that was all set in Lawrence, Kansas too.
I'm more looking forward to the foot races of the Olympics coming up.
Ooh.
What about you, Ryan? What are some things
races.
that you liked about Supernatural?
Well, the opening sequence was solid. Some of the things were a little hokey, a little just not quite at the level to where I can take it seriously. But some of that I dismissed to 15 years ago. Some of that I dismissed to maybe I'm not the target audience. Some of that I dismissed to it's a pilot, cut it some slack, But the bottom line was that the opening...
We're not at the bottom line yet.
Right. The opening scene was, or scenes, sequence, was good, was very solid, and I was impressed by it. It did a good job, especially initially, of moving quickly. It explained things quickly with a lean script, seemingly a lean script where it hits the points in a way that's smart enough to where the audience gets it, but not so smart that the audience gets lost in it. But it moved quickly, and so I was really pleased with that. However, later on, and in certain parts, it over-explained, and it had the typical thing that shows used to have a lot more, which was, oh, this is my friend Sally. She's the smartest girl in all of the school. And then she says, well, I did get almost a 1600 on the SATs. And then they say, yeah, but at least your two parents are doctors, or, they do this thing where it's like they're introducing a character in a way that it's obvious they're just giving you exposition, but they think they're being sly and making it conversational, but it's really not conversational at all. It's terrible and it's ridiculous. And that happened a few times in this, not as bad as say like 80s sitcoms, but that's probably the most negative comment I could give about it. And even that's not that bad. The other one being, kind of the simplicity with which they solved the mystery. But I was even kind of okay with that because it sets the table to where and sets the tone to where you say, okay, I get it. I understand what this show is going to be about. I understand what they're looking for or who their target audience is. I understand what the procedural formula is going to be. And then you can decide with a pretty educated guess if it's going to be a show for you or not for you. So good pilot.
Why did the white, I keep wanting to say White Walker. Why did the lady in white
go with it?
Right. Why did the lady in white go after Sam? That didn't make any sense to me because he wasn't somebody who had cheated. She just suddenly like jumped in his car and was after him and was eating him. And I didn't understand that.
My theory is that she thought she knew that he was somebody who could put an end to her reign of terror, and so that's why she wanted to turn him into a cheater.
I see.
So that she could attack him.
Maybe.
I think it was a plot hole. I think you're right. They had to do something like that, but they do address it partially pretty well. Was when he says, he's basically like, well, wait a second. But I've never been unfaithful. Yeah. And she says,
like, I'm going to make you
will be.
Yeah.
But then, so that's kind of like tells us that she's no longer after unfaithful men. She's just after all men. And if she doesn't have the excuse to kill them, then she tries to force that excuse to happen, which, it's kind of gray.
Yeah. Like just the first person she does that to is Sam.
Right. So
funny.
Maybe something made in 2020 or with slightly more sophisticated writing or with a higher age group in their target audience would have made Sam a cheater.
Yeah.
And would have been okay with having, major flaws in their main characters. But in a show that's trying to be like, no, these are the good guys, then they had to kind of work around it.
It's a good point.
What about Commander Kelly Grayson's brief stint in this show? Huh?
Yeah, good for her. I was happy to see her. Adrian Palicki of The Orville and of Wonder Woman, which I never saw, and of another show that she was in.
Probably another CW show, one of those things or something. I think I remember seeing something about her somewhere in one of those
There was something
shows.
about her like 20 years ago where she was playing someone's daughter or something. There was like a dinner scene or something, I remember.
Okay.
But whatever. Some people know exactly what I'm talking about. But anyway, I thought she was great, even though I don't think they gave her a very respectful
I was like,
role.
all right, hey, Commander Kelly Grayson's gonna be in this show. Okay, cool.
She was
nope, and then she dies.
But go ahead. Sorry.
They had to kill her to give Sam the reason to join his brother.
Exactly.
The release.
That was nice because I didn't understand the beginning. Why are we even seeing this girlfriend? But then, at the end, that came in like, oh, I see. Because we had to have the reason, the motivation, the extra push for him. Since he's like, I don't even remember my mom. Oh, but now I have a reason.
Yeah. And they were a little much on the sexifying of her. I don't usually notice that stuff so much, but sometimes when we watch a show that's kind of older, it's a little bit more glaring where we're like, where they go, oh, this is my girlfriend. And rather than her just kind of like poking, oh, hey, and covering up, she poses, she comes out and finds her light, straightens her shoulders and poses. And I'm like, come on, nobody's going to do that. And
if I would have known your brother was coming over, I would have put some more clothes on. No, don't even worry about it. I'm fine with it.
And then she stands there and poses longer and poses more. And then they go and they do all those things and they come back and she's still like that. And I'm like, if it's the middle of the night, she wouldn't be doing that. She would just be like, grumpy and grizzly and trying to be in bed. Anyway, I was like, okay, we get it, guys. We see what we're doing here. But whatever, she did the best she could with it. And, she's actually a great actress. I've been very impressed with her on The Orville.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all I have to say about The Orville. I was very impressed with her acting. Mm-hmm. Oh, she was also on Friday Night Lights, I believe.
Oh, really?
Maybe that's where she was eating dinner with some people.
No. Don't make me go on YouTube and type in Adrian Palicki. It was like at a conference or something. It was like the first episode of some pretty cult thing from like 20 or 25 years ago. maybe a superhero where she wasn't like the main character, but she was like the daughter of him. Anyway, does not matter.
And,
Somebody knows what it is.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Dean Morgan. He played the dad.
What's he in?
He's in the Watchmen movie. He plays the comedian. He's in The Walking Dead. He plays Negan.
Oh, that's Negan, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, I've never saw the season that Negan was in. But.
Oh,
is it gonna be
Ryan.
the same?
But I've seen the cosplay with the guys with the barbed wire bat.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They're really cool. Yeah.
Will it be the same dad actor in future ones, or is it? Did they specifically pick somebody and then they're going to replace with somebody old? Yeah, I guess we don't know.
You're asking me like I'm someone who's watched more than the first episode.
Yeah. You Googled it. Okay, so another good actor.
But yes,
that's really
Jeffrey
cool.
Dean Morgan. Yeah, he's. But I mean, back then he wasn't really. This is before Walking Dead, and I'm assuming before Watchmen, and. Yeah, but now he's a sought after actor.
Yeah.
Good opening role.
What'd you guys think of the two leads? Yep, those guys that are striking
those dudes.
One of them here. I thought they did a good job. I mean, I thought the acting was on point. I mean, I found them compelling. It was interesting how Sam was kind of the reluctant to go into it, but was really, really good at it once he did. But that was kind of cool. Dean, it seemed a little bit more the, I'm going to shoot first, ask questions later.
Rebel without a cause. Yeah. Yeah. For me, I mean, if I had to pick something that I didn't like, it would have been that whole kind of charade of Sam going, no, I'm gonna go be a lawyer, I'm gonna go to law school. No way, man, I can't go with you on these crazy adventures.
That was another criticism I had of it too, was when they find out their dad's life is in jeopardy and he's like, sorry, I got an interview, and I put in my notes, I was like, doesn't he care about his dad's life at all? I mean, I get that the interview is important, we get it, it's one of the most important things in your life. But if your dad is possibly going to get killed or his life is in danger, you're going to probably put that ahead of an interview.
Right.
And if your girlfriend dies and then you go, okay, now I'll go save my dad, then come on. I don't know. That was another little thing where I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, go save your dad, dude. Give me a break.
I get the impression he'd been called upon to do this like a few too many times, where he's like, all right, that was my impression from that. But I hear what you're saying nonetheless.
Well, the impression that I got is that they were raised like they're this. I mean, like their mom died when Sam was like an infant.
Yeah.
And then he was raised his whole life having to hunt demons and hunt the supernatural and take them down. And that was his whole life that he's ever known. And so he wanted to break away from that and see what else there is in the world. But then he tries to get out and they keep pulling him back in. There was one line, they're on the bridge and they're arguing. And then Sam's like, Mom's gone. She isn't coming back. I was like, that was lame. Lame.
No, you loved it.
I liked a lot of things about this show, but that whole... the kind of the dumb dialogue that they had to put in to make his character be that kind of person and then reluctantly join his brother at the end. I understand it, but it was dumb.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He had to break away like Kelly Clarkson. But the truth is, at least in my opinion, as Michael's mentioning about the premise, kind of like the setup, I thought the premise was really good. It totally works. If you put that into a log line, two brothers are trained by their father, blah, 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 right? One or two sentences, you go, I get it. That works. That you can picture it. You can visualize it. You can understand how it could be interesting. You can understand how the possibilities are endless, how you could go 15 seasons. So solid premise. And that it lends itself to something that can go on forever. Like I said, kind of like the X-Files, or like Michael mentioned, Hardy Boys. That was a really interesting thought. I hadn't considered that.
That's
really
what immediately came to me, because I was kind of like raised on the Hardy Boys, like when I was a kid, my dad used to like read me the Hardy Boys books before I knew how to read, and so that to me was like what kind of maybe got me into mystery and that kind of stuff. So.
Hardy Boys, Mohammed?
I never read them, but I mean, I was aware of them, but I never read them.
I was more of a Nancy
more
Drew
Scooby-Doo
guy. Yeah, Nancy.
I was more Scooby-Doo.
I know you.
No, I never read Nancy Drew or the Hardy Boys, I don't think. And I didn't like Scooby-Doo.
Oh.
I know people get mad if I say I don't like Scooby-Doo or SpongeBob SquareButt, but I don't like
SpongeBob was after our time, so I can understand that. I mean, even though I've seen some and I do enjoy it a little bit, but Scooby-Doo though, that's
they introduced Scrappy, then all fell off the radar.
It's too repetitive for me. It was always just the guy wearing a suit saying, I would have gotten away with it. I mean, we know.
And He-Man wasn't repetitive.
He-Man is the best show in all of cartoon land, and you know it. I'll tell him you said that if you don't watch it. Oh, by the way, we're totally going to watch the shit out of that new He-Man series. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Somebody has to recommend it though. So if nobody recommends it, I'll recommend it right now. Watch
Ryan's already saying for the Terrible Twos, yes,
of the Universe.
Yeah. All right, everybody in the comments section below, let us know if you think we should watch the first episode of Masters of the Universe. It's going to be called
Revelations, I think.
Yeah, or if you don't believe we should watch Masters of the Universe Revelations, or if you're indifferent, and also let us know if you don't know what that means so we can block you.
Did you watch the first for the new She-Ra?
No. When did that come out?
Like 3-4 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. It was
cartoon. Somebody's going to tell us to watch the first of that.
Yeah, WTF New She-Ra. Okay.
Or old She-Ra.
True. Back to work, guys. All right. So this was also a question I wanted to make sure to remember, and thank goodness I remembered with just enough time left.
Thank goodness.
There was a moment where Sam is making fun of Dean's cassette tape collection.
Oh, yeah.
And he mentioned 3 mullet rock cassettes that were supposed to be funny, but they were not, because they were 3 really cool bands. Actually, I'll have you know. So the question is, of the 3 mullet rock bands that Sam mocked Dean about which Sam mocked Dean, which is your favorite? Black Sabbath, Motorhead, or Metallica?
I'll go first, and I'll say definitely Black Sabbath.
Oh, I would have thought you'd say Metallica.
Oh man, no. I mean, I like Metallica, but Black Sabbath is just that's Black Sabbath, dude. That's classic.
Well, then I'm going to also go on record and say that's 2 for Black Sabbath. That's a pretty easy one for me as well. They are the godfathers of metal, and we love them. What do you think, Mohamed Noor, with your awesome DNA shirt that's kind of rock and roll?
Almost AC/DC. If AC/DC was a choice, I would pick them. Yeah, sadly, I don't think I ever listened to any of the 3. I mean, I was aware of them, but somehow just I didn't listen to them, and the people I hung out with didn't really listen to them. So,
all right,
I don't really have an opinion on like pro or con. I just never really got them.
Yeah,
3 for Black Sabbath.
I'll do AC/DC. I'll
nice. And everybody at home, this is probably more important than all the others. Which is your favorite band out of Black Sabbath, Motorhead, or Metallica? Dude, Michael, you want to tell them about the Metallica guy?
No, but you can though. There was 2 Metallica guys. They were in a band together, I think.
Oh, really? Well, those, and in a real super quick anecdote, we took a music business class at De Anza College in San Jose, California, or near San Jose. It was like Campbell or Sunnyvale, something like that. And through every single class, there was a dude that would raise his hand.
There was 2 dudes.
Well, there was especially one guy. I mean, there were 2 guys, but there was this one guy every time that would raise his hand 15 times per class and tried to make every single discussion about Metallica. And he'd raise his hand and the teacher would say yes. He'd go, what about when Metallica was like, and he just always started, we're just like, okay, we love Metallica's cool, we get it, but like, dude, enough about it. This is not a Metallica class. This is a music business anyway. So anytime somebody says
around the time of like
Napster.
MP3 downloads and Napster, and so like, and that's when Metallica filed that lawsuit against people downloading their music. So
that's right.
Metallica was definitely in the zeitgeist of the time to be in that discussion, but he would have always everything. So it's like with Metallica, like would sue people for their music, and Anyway.
Yeah.
Kudos to him for trying to put into something he cares about, I guess.
Yeah. But it was nonstop. Anyway, so
sorry.
By the way, I will say I like Metallica, but old Metallica is the better of the Metallicas.
What's your favorite Metallica album?
Definitely has to be Master of Puppets.
Yeah. Oh, what's that? The third one?
Yeah.
For me, it's Ride the Lightning.
Yeah,
Ride the
that's
Lightning.
The second one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I haven't listened to a whole lot of Motorhead. So if anybody can recommend some like a decent Motorhead album, I'd be interested in giving it a listen.
I don't know specific albums, but a few specific songs, and they're very good. They're similar. They're all very similar. I'm so sorry, Mohammed. I swear it's not usually like this, but we don't get to talk about this kind of stuff very often.
I'm good.
And
this
time it's relevant to the show. We got to talk about it.
Yeah.
And anyway, what's cool about Motorhead is the lead singer, and I feel like his name was Lenny.
Yeah, Lenny,
yeah. His voice is just so damn cool, and he's just. It just makes you feel like you're cool when you're listening to it. You're like, yeah, I have gravel in my throat too right now. When he eats Rocky Road ice cream, it's made out of real rocky roads.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway. So let's finish up about this show, shall we? Then there was also when Dean says, Mulder, Scully. I was like, thumbs down, bad joke. Dumb. Cop says,
I thought it was fun.
You got anything that's real? And Dean says, my boobs. I'm like, oh, welcome to 1992, dude. Anyway, that's all I got as far as throwing dirt at him.
That they made. Yeah.
I like the no chick flick moments comment.
I see. I missed that. When was that?
It was I forget. Sam was about to say something to Dean about appreciating it, and he's like, "Hey, no chick flick moments."
Right. It was. I think they're in the hotel room together.
Yeah,
like
I think that's right.
This scene back here.
So what do you think? Do you think this first episode or probably first season aged well?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
I do feel that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they have flip phones and stuff like that, but I mean, it's not like a big plot point or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they're like.
And people know what they're watching when they see it. I mean, they don't expect them to have an iPhone. That'd be pretty strange. But no, I didn't see anything that was radically off from what you might see today, aside from the points you mentioned earlier, Ryan, in terms of maybe having more flawed characters up front would have made some parts of it smoother.
Mm-hmm. And the last little point I wanted to make, you guys.
What about you? You didn't answer your own question.
What was my question?
If
Did it age well?
Did it age well? Yeah.
Well, the things that I mentioned made me think that it didn't age well, like the jokes. And the way Adrian Palicki was presented kind of obviously. I feel like, I mean, it's probably around 2005, 2006, 2007, somewhere around there. But it was, it did feel kind of 90s. It felt like it was a little, past that time. And so that didn't quite age well. But the writing was, in general, like the plot, I mean, because that's something that can be written 50 years from now and still be interesting. The supernatural, that can go on anytime.
So I feel like I remember reading that the pilot was actually made like several years before it aired.
Interesting.
But maybe somebody in the audience can tell us for sure. But I feel like I remember reading that, and that would make sense too, because that would put it somewhere in the early 2000s. Because this was aired in 2005, This first episode.
Did the series just end?
I believe so.
November 2020 was the last episode.
Wow.
Nice.
So
How crazy is that? Like, this is a show that none of us watched, but was on for 15 years and just ended.
And then they said, "Oh, you can't. Nobody can shoot anything anymore because of the pandemic." And they're like, "Whatever, we're done anyway. You guys. We're collecting our millions. We don't care." But that last scene, when he comes in and he's calling for his girlfriend, you kind of immediately go, "Oh, there's going to be a twist here. Something's going to happen. Right. There's going to be something." The music kind of sets it up, and you kind of know. And I thought it was a nice twist. It was definitely the right choice to set him out on his adventure. I mean, they could have found something else to set him on his adventure, but that seems like the most obvious when you're writing that out. That like, well, we kill his girlfriend the same way that his mom died. So that makes you go, oh.
I like the very last scene with him like closing the trunk and stuff. I thought that was very good. Like, all right, I'm in.
We got work to do.
Yep.
Yeah, I was wrong. It actually, so what happened was it was in development for nearly 10 years.
Oh wow.
Oh, okay.
And he spent several years unsuccessfully pitching it, but man, it worked out for him, didn't it?
Yeah.
Who's he?
The show creator. What is his name? Krepke or something?
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
because even he departed the show after season 5, but then still as the creator, your name is still on it. You're still getting residuals the entire time.
Money. Okay, well, this is it. Mohamed Noor. Wait, it's not PhD. It's what?
That's right.
Okay, PhD. Let's talk about you for a moment, shall we? Dr. Mohamed Noor, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, well, yeah.
Not as interesting as Supernatural.
Yeah. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about some new news in your world. You have recently announced something pretty big with your podcast that was supposed to not be going right now until suddenly you dropped a bomb on us all. What was that bomb?
What's that bomb?
That you are now releasing new episodes.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. My BioTrekkie Explained series. So that one, I've been doing that pretty consistently. Was that news? I missed that. I said I wasn't.
You've got a new series, right?
No, it's just the same one. It's been running for about a year. That's okay though. But yeah, I do episodes that just came out.
I thought that this was going to be more of a companion to like Voyager or something like that.
No. I mean, it's always just been sort of jumping across different series. So I've done Voyager like earlier on, but I'm not specifically following one series. I'm just kind of jumping around as I'm doing it.
Oh, interesting. See, when you released the most recent episode or episodes, I thought that you're kind of taking it in a different direction in the new thing. So when I said you dropped a bomb on us, I guess I dropped the bomb on myself. I was like, oh, this is new. And you're like, nah, this is kind of what I've been doing.
You dropped the bomb on your foot.
It's all good.
You dropped the bomb on your foot and then your foot went into your mouth.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a slightly different take. I mean, I actually had a guest on this last episode, which I haven't had any guests on my regular BioTrekkie Explains one before. But I had Garrett Wong, who graciously came in and had a little cameo at the very tail end. So that was very gracious of him. I appreciate that. I guess
that's what I was thinking.
The newer thing for me is, that the in-person conventions are about to come back. So I'm signed up to give presentations at conventions this month, next month, and the month after. So
wow,
this month is the Raleigh Galaxy Con. I'll be just giving one talk there, and it's basically why are there so many humanoids in Star Trek? And that's a talk I've given several times before, but I'm still excited to give it here.
That's good.
Yeah, it was fun. At Las Vegas, the 55-year mission, what was formerly called STLV, I'm giving 3 talks. I just got approval this past week on it, so I know what they actually are.
3? Can you tell us what they are yet?
Yeah, I can. So again, one of them is the why are there so many humanoids in Star Trek one, which is basically an evidence for evolution talk, but then using a lot of context from Star Trek. The second one is called Genetics, Ancestry, Race, and Trek. So it is basically an introduction to some basic genetics concepts, a lot about how those personal direct-to-consumer genetic ancestry tests work, and what are things that are accurate about it, and what are things that are not accurate about it, and then some connections of that, like what does that mean in the context of, you know, our social perceptions of race, and like are those accurate or are those not reflected in genetics? And I'll tell you, the punchline to that one is they're not really very well reflected in genetics at all.
When you talk about genetics, are you going to talk about like two different species or alien races mating, like Spock being half human and half Vulcan, and B'Elanna and Tom Paris mating and things like that?
That'll be more in my first talk. There's a little bit about that in the second talk, but it'll be more in when the humanoids talk, because I mean that is one of the things, there are all these different humanoids, but not only do they all exist, but they're also supposedly infertile. So there's one explanation that kind of can maybe make that work but it's from original series. It's not the Next Generation, the Chase explanation. That doesn't work. So we'll talk about that in there. And then the last talk at Vegas, but not in September, is going to be a Biotrekkie with the Admiral return. So it's going to be a joint with Jane Brooke, Admiral Katrina Cornwell in Discovery. So we'll do basically a live version of what we did in our YouTube series. So that's the one that I'm really excited about.
How fun.
Yeah.
Do you know what day that's going to be?
Friday.
Okay.
On the Friday there. I just know that because I think she's only there that day. So it's pretty much set.
I think I'm going to be on a panel on Sunday, by the way.
Okay. Oh, shoot. I'm flying out Sunday morning.
You son of... Well, that's what I get for talking about that bomb talk that made everybody go, what are you talking about? I guess we're even, right?
Sorry.
No, that's... And then I won't even be there, so I get to have to miss everything.
Well, actually, for the genetics, ancestry, race one, I'm going to record a version of that, and I'm just going to use that as my August Biotrekkie Explains video.
Nice.
Hey, speaking of Star Trek, check it out. Star Trek Lower Decks.
Lower Decks.
And look at this. It's a shirt.
Whoa.
I've got DNA.
Nice.
I have DNA that's not on my shirt, too.
Yeah, I was going to say, we all have DNA, technically.
That's true.
Did you wait, Mohammed? What was the comment you made right before Mike said it?
I said I've got DNA, though not just in my shirt.
Okay. I'm gonna leave that one alone. So let's move forward all the way until we reach the bottom line, everybody. By the way, you can find all of Dr. Mohamed Noor's information in the description box below. Michael will include those links. And please go like and support and follow all of his goodies. Now the bottom line. Let's move fast. Bottom line, aka the terrible twos.
Great segue. It's going to be very difficult for me to edit that. Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, now it's time for the bottom line. There we go.
Bottom line.
All right. So, question number one of the bottom line terrible twos is, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give the first episode of Supernatural entitled Pilot?
I am giving this first episode of Supernatural entitled Pilot out of 10 a score of 8 points, 8.
Wow. Much higher than I predicted.
How many 8s should I put in there?
You can put the little line over the 8.
Yeah.
So
8.88. No, just 8. 4 8s.
Okay. Wait. 4 8s after the decimal point? Or...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, so 5 8s altogether.
5 8s, really.
Okay.
But not like a fraction of 5 8s. 5 8s. 5.8888.
8.8.
8.88. Yeah.
Okay. Mohammed, scale of 1 to 10, what would you give the first episode of Supernatural?
I give it a solid 7.
Very good. Very good. To be honest, I hadn't really thought about what I was going to give this one. I think I'm going to give it I keep pushing myself up, to be honest. Like I keep going upward.
That's why you're so muscular, is because you can do all those push-ups.
So I'm going to give it, I'm feeling generous. I'm going to give it a 7. going to give it a 7. Maybe it deserves even better. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 7 overall.
Hey, I'm like Ryan.
It's not that great. It's not all it's
my
cracked
role
up
model.
to be. All right. Now, by the way, thanks, Mohamed. You're everybody's role model. At least you really should be. You are an excellent role model, by the way.
Oh, you're very sweet. Thank you.
So, second question is, for the purposes of this podcast, we all had to watch the first episode of Supernatural, entitled Pilot. But now that the show is over, our podcast is over, and we're free to move about the internet, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, would you watch the second episode?
I definitely would. Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, it grabbed, this first episode grabbed me. It held on to me, shook me around a little bit, and laid me down very gently, which I enjoyed, and I would look forward to more of that. It does seem from some ratings that I've peeked at, and from Mohammed's suggestion that
My daughter.
that it does kind of lose its steam after a little while, but yeah, I would think I would check out the second episode at least.
A lot of shows peter out. Like think about Lost. I mean, it started amazing and then
and then just got better. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, Mohamed, what about you? Would you watch the second episode?
I mean, if it was on, I wouldn't leave the room. You know, I wouldn't avoid it, but just on my own volition, would I go to Netflix and look for it and click on the button? Probably not.
So if Mohamed has to click a button, that's where he draws the line.
That's the line. It's the bottom line.
Well, would I watch the second episode? I don't think I would, and not because the show doesn't deserve it. This is strictly on personal tastes. It feels a little bit lower than my demographic, which is okay, because remember, I gave like He-Man a 9. So that's definitely not a knock on anybody that wants to watch it like Michael or anybody else. It just felt like for me that it's not really aimed at me, and I feel like I wouldn't really enjoy it too much, but I think it deserves to have its second episode watched. It's just not going to be watched by me. It's a no from me.
Well said.
So that's it. We did it, everybody. If you want us to review a show, type in the comments below WTF Frasier, or WTF Amen, or WTF
Amen,
All in the Family,
or WTF the A-Team,
WTF the Jeffersons. We're moving on up.
Yeah, these are all excellent. All right. I think that's it. Go give your support to Mohamed.
WTF Airwolf.
Oh, yeah, Airwolf. And remember, there
I
was
love that theme song, man. It's worth watching just for the theme music.
A copy of it called Blue Thunder that kind of sucked. There was like Airwolf, and everybody went nuts for it. And so then like the next year, there was a new show called Blue Thunder. There was another helicopter show that sucked.
Man, I feel like I had a Blue Thunder toy of the helicopter. Yeah.
I wanted to see the Airwolf theme song now. Like
I love the music. Well, it's not actually a song. It's just the music, but it's epically good.
Yeah. All right, cool. So what I'm trying to say is, damn, I had a really good thing to say at the end and I totally forgot it.
That's what you wanted to say? That's it? Okay, my turn. This episode was a really good thing to say at the end, but I forgot it.
Damn.
Can't find it.
I don't remember. It was something to do with the oh, I remember now. Yes. All right, so you just edit. Michael really gets some precision editing with like a scalpel. And okay, this episode was just like Metallica. It was worth it.
This podcast episode, because I had to like remember, like, wait, we're talking about the podcast now. This podcast was an episode of our podcast.
This podcast was a fun discussion of the occult with friends.
And mullet rock. All right, so everybody at home, be good to each other, support Mohamed Noor, like, subscribe, and comment. And always remember what Mr. Michael Kenyon Rosenberg likes to say.
Don't forget to register to be an organ donor, and please consider living donation because some people need a kidney, please. And don't forget to watch the first of things.